Aides to President Trump have to be careful as to not upset the president during his daily briefings. Now, according to intelligence officials speaking to the Washington Post on condition of anonymity, this is over 50 of these officials speaking to the Post, they say that President Trump has to be kept from certain information as to not infuriate him. Now, this information has to do with Russia. Now, they say that in their daily briefings, anything that has to do with Russia or the Russia investigation or any attempts to meddle in the election are not included orally, but are sometimes just written or just included in the written assessment. The order in which information is presented could also be altered as to try to not upset Trump. One of these former senior U.S. intelligence officials said, quote, "If you talk about Russia, meddling, interference, that takes the PDB off the rails." So anytime you mention this, gone. Immediately he flies into a rage. You know, it's funny. I thought that the president didn't like it when people were being politically correct. Yet here's the intelligence agencies having to choose to avoid certain topics, mentioning certain topics to the president because he can't handle it, because he flies off the handle. So they've got to be politically correct just to make sure that he doesn't get all angry. Isn't that amazing? Can't bring up anything to do with Russia. Even though it's in my opinion, it's not a nothing burger. Especially since we know several top officials got arrested over this. And there's an investigation into you, your son, and a lot of other officials that we don't know of. So, kind of a big deal. But apparently you bring it up, and it infuriates him. There's more. A spokesman for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence said the briefings are basically written by senior-level career officials. They always provide objective intelligence. So it's not like they're saying, oh, well, this briefing says that you're guilty of collusion. No, they're just saying, here's what the Russians are doing. Here's what our intelligence tells you, and you can make of it what you want. Well, he doesn't want to make anything of it because, again, he's friends with Vladimir Putin and may owe him money. Again, that's my speculation, and I'm being absolutely clear with that. But I believe that the president owes the Russians money because they're the only people that will ever give him money or loan him money. And it would make sense, in my opinion, that if you owe somebody money and can't actually pay it back, get into a position of power or at least run for a position of power so you can try to give them some favors. Hey, if I can't pay you back in cash, at least I can do something for you. Maybe like lift the sanctions that Russia is currently not in favor of. Again, who would be in favor of having sanctions against their country? Just saying. Now, throughout his time in office, Trump has repeatedly dismissed the investigation into Russian interference and has called it basically a witch hunt and says, collusion, no collusion. We're not doing collusion. You know who's doing collusion? You are. Hillary Clinton's doing collusion. Hillary Clinton's not the president. I'm just saying, she has no power. Unless you count the 8% of people on Twitter that are still in love with her. Like people like Peter Dow. Yeah, I guess she's got some power with those people. But as far as the American people are concerned, they don't like Clinton. They don't trust Clinton. And I think they'd never vote for Clinton. So... anyway, again, she's not in a position of power. Nobody cares. She can go back in the woods. Anyway, hold on. I kind of lost my train of thought here. But anyway, here's an example, right, of the president's aides basically having to deal with his temper by working around it. It's either his temper or his lack of focus and organization, which I just ironically proved that I also do not have a lack of focus or attention. But look, the president doesn't read his briefings. That's why they first tried to shrink them down to about a half a page. But don't worry, it had pictures and killer graphics. When that didn't work, they started putting his name into the briefings throughout to maybe help him keep attention. Ooh, hey, look, oh, hey, there's my name. I'm suddenly interested now, child. And look, when he was leaving for one of his trips, I believe it was an Asia trip, they ended up putting his briefings into tweet length segments. He's got to be able to read 140 characters. This was, of course, before Twitter doubled their character length. 280 now might be a little long for him. But in this case, he doesn't want to pay any attention, and he says, sad witch hunt. That's what this is all about. Now, again, to be fair, I don't believe that Russian interference, while I believe it did happen, was not the sole cause of Trump taking the White House. No, that's ridiculous. Again, I can put most of the blame on the campaign that Hillary Clinton ran and the fact that she was one of the most disliked, distrusted candidates ever. So, obviously, more disliked and more distrusted than Trump. And he's already at record levels of dislike. His approval rating somewhere around 32%. He's an absolute disaster. But he did run against the establishment. Hillary Clinton was the establishment. And so that's what happens. Again, he ran anti-establishment. He ran as a populist. And he ended up beating the establishment candidate at a time where for some reason the Democrats tried to run as the establishment during an anti-establishment wave. Not very smart, but they thought, no, all we have to do is just keep calling him a mean person. And that'll work. And now we're all paying for it. But look, what Trump said about the being anti-establishment is obviously snake oil. And all you have to do is just look at his cabinet. Look at the people he's appointed to different places. His Supreme Court appointment, is the most, one of the most, I should say the most corporate-friendly judge I've ever seen. This is the guy who ruled against the guy who left his truck during a snowstorm. If he would have stayed there, he would have froze to death. No. You stay with the truck, you freeze. We cannot risk our profits. Your life is not important as important to us as our money. He ruled on that side, and this is who Donald Trump and the Republicans picked. That's their Supreme Court, man. That's their Supreme Court justice. So, no, he's proven that he's incredibly establishment and pro-corporate. The only thing is that, strangely enough, the establishment despises him because he ran against him. Even though, he's basically allowing the establishment to get everything they want. Gigantic tax cuts for the rich. Done. Angling us forward towards more war. Done. On and on, man. Appointing people to the FCC that would eliminate net neutrality protections. Done. Appointing somebody to the Department of Education that is going to push charter schools and hurt, public education. Done. Appointing somebody to the EPA to eliminate regulations and to exacerbate climate change. Done. All at the expense of us in order to get more profits for the fossil fuel industry. So that's the kind of person Trump is. That's the kind of administration he's run, one that is deeply establishment. You only need to look at his picks to understand that and what he's been doing. But look, back to Trump personally, he didn't want to hear anything that contradicts his idea that, no, I completely crushed Hillary because I was the better candidate, because I was awesome. No, it was Hillary Clinton's election to lose. You didn't win, she lost, and he can't handle any of that criticism. Just like he can't handle any criticism about his crowds. His crowds were actually smaller than Barack Obama's. What are you going to do about it? We have photographic evidence. He's a loser. And again, won't listen to anything that contradicts his worldview. Even if I don't agree with the idea that Russia stole the election, even if you bring it up to President Trump, he gets pissed because he's insecure and knows that he didn't win by himself. That he didn't win because he's awesome. That he won because everybody else was fucking terrible.